The three men in the Bible that never died. Number 1, Enoch. Genesis 5 verse 24. Enoch walked faithfully with God, then he was no more because God took him away. From the very first moment, the story grabs our attention. A man dies at a much younger age than the usual age of his generation, but he didn't die at all, he disappeared. Enoch is the seventh generation of Adam and Eve, the grandson of Seth, and the son of Adam and Eve, born after Cain murdered Abel, the first recorded murder in human history. Some are mistaken and think he is the son of Cain, but this is another Enoch. He stands out mainly because of his young age at the time of his death, 365 years. Nowadays, this is considered a lot, but the Bible clearly states the ages of his ancestors and sons, which amounted to an average of about 800 years. Enoch lived less than half of that. He was the father of Methuselah, the figure who lived the longest since the beginning of mankind at 969 years. Methuselah was the grandfather of Noah, the builder of the ark. Enoch's figure has aroused great curiosity throughout thousands of years of tradition. Some saw in the image of a believing man who was taken in his life because of the way evil people had burdened him. To some of us, he is known as the image of an angel named Metatron, and to others, as evil and a kind of image of the devil. The story of Enoch is written in the book of Genesis, 5:21-24, and all the information provided about him is contained within just 4 verses in the middle of a chapter full of details. One commentator in the Jewish world states that the souls of Moses and Enoch came from a higher world, the world of God. Therefore, it is said about Enoch, and Enoch walked before God, in the past tense, like Moses, even before his soul came to this world, it had walked in a higher realm. Enoch's important mission was to purify the world, which had been defiled by the sins of the people of the generation up until the time of Noah when he brought down a flood upon the earth that cleansed it. If it weren't for Enoch's righteousness, the number of sinners would have increased even before the time of Noah, and the world would have been destroyed without any chance of survival. His actions tipped the scales to the positive side and enabled a minor purification of the world, through a flood, after which the survivors in the ark began their lives anew. Books were written about the character of Enoch, which we will call the outer books, since they were written during the time of the writing of the Bible and outside the walls of the temple. Although these are external books, Christianity, Judaism and Islam use images from these books, but at the same time Judaism and Christianity forbid reading from them. In the book of Enoch, he begins the tradition of thinking, reading, writing, and calculating, which he learned from the angels when he was taken to God and stayed in heaven for many years. God commanded him to return to earth and teach the people the knowledge he had accumulated. According to God's will, he returned and taught his son Methuselah for 30 days, imparting all the knowledge he had received from the angels. Number 2, Elijah. 2 Kings 2 verse 11. Suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. During the reign of the wicked king Ahab of Israel, who had deviated from God's path and begun to worship idols, God chose Elijah to be a prophet. Elijah became known for his struggles with Ahab and his Sidonian wife, Jezebel. Then, God sent Elijah to Ahab to tell him about the punishment of the people of Israel for deviating from God's path, a punishment of severe drought. Realizing his life was in danger, Elijah was sent by God to hide in the river Chorath. After a period in which Elijah stayed with the widow, her son became seriously ill and eventually died of the disease. 1 Kings 17 verse 18. She said to Elijah, "What do you have against me, man of God? Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son?" The woman asked Elijah, "Lord prophet, is there any conflict between us? Why do you hate me? Have I not served you enough, and thus sinned?" My son is dead." Elijah asked her to take her son off her lap and went up with the son to the place where he lived. Elijah laid the son on his bed. 1 Kings 17 verse 20. Then he cried out to the Lord, "Lord my God, have you brought tragedy even on this widow I am staying with, by causing her son to die?" Elijah prayed to God and said in his prayer, "Not only have you caused me hardship by making me wander around the country and not be in my home, but you have also caused suffering to the widow I live with by killing her son." Elijah prostrated himself over the child's body, praying to God each time and saying, "My God, please bring this child's soul back and revive him." God heard Elijah's prayer the third time he prostrated himself over the child's body, and the child's soul returned to him. Elijah took the child and brought him down to the woman. He gave the child to his mother and said to the woman, "Your son is alive." The woman replied to him. 1 Kings 17 verse 24. Then the woman said to Elijah, "Now I know that you are a man of God and that the word of the Lord from your mouth is the truth. Now, I know you are a true prophet." Although she had already seen the miracle take place in the jar of flour and the plate of oil, she still did not fully understand that Elijah was a true prophet. "And now I know that the first words you said to me in the name of God were prophetic, and you spoke them to me because you heard them from God." After some time, and with God's will, Elijah and his disciple Elisha went from Bethel to Jericho, and then down to the Jordan River, which Elijah parted for years in his glory. At each station, Elisha meets a group of sons of prophets who inform him that his Lord will be taken from him on that day. After Elijah and Elisha crossed the Jordan, Elijah asked him what he wanted to give him before it was taken away. Elisha asked, "Let your spirit be twice as much to me." To which Elijah himself replied, "You have asked a difficult thing." Some interpret Elisha's request as to receive 1/3 of Elijah's spirit, while others interpret it as being more straightforward. Additionally, Elisha's stories contain twice the number of miracles as Elijah's stories. Elijah ascended at the speed of fire, in the storm of heaven, while Elisha remained on the ground and shouted to him, "My father, the chariot of Israel and its horsemen." According to the interpretation, Elijah rose to heaven on his birthday, and this is not a marginal detail. Furthermore, the interpretation suggests that people who passed away on their birthdays were righteous individuals who had a high spiritual level and could communicate with heavenly realms and God. For example, Moses, the leader of the Israelites, was born on the 7th of the month of Adar and died at the same day of Adar, the Hebrew month in Judaism. Moses died at the age of 120. Deuteronomy 31 verse 2. "I am now 120 years old and I am no longer able to lead you. The Lord has said to me, you shall not cross the Jordan." The commentators explain that Moses meant to tell them that the day he was born he would die, and it did come to pass. People like Moses come into the world to make improvements, change things and bring redemption. Even when they leave the world, they are still in it. They are not technically defined as dead, but they are from above, watching over and correcting what is happening in the world. Number 3, Moses. According to the geographical information written in 2 Kings 2 verse 8, it is possible to identify that Elijah the prophet was in the vicinity of Mount Nebo in his last moments, like Moses. However, at this point, the stories diverge. Deuteronomy 34 recounts the death of Moses. On the other hand, the book of 2 Kings 2 verse 1 does not tell of Elijah's death, but of his ascension to heaven, while he was still alive, in a fiery chariot. In light of the many events in Elijah's life that mirror those in Moses' life, it seems that his ascension to heaven was based on a precedent set by the story of Moses. The mystery of Moses' death. In the book Assumption of Moses, a composition from the Second Temple that tells about the death of Moses, Joshua reacts with astonishment and shock when Moses informs him of his imminent death, chapter 11. This is a place that will collect you, and what will be your gravestone? Who would dare to move your body from one place to another as one person? Because all the dead, according to their value, are buried on earth, from east of the sun to its source and from Negev to the northern edge, your burial is all over the world. It can be understood from Joshua's reaction that he thought Moses could not die. Many Jews felt that there was a problem with the idea that Moses died, and the possibility that he did not die continued to exist in the minds of the people, even though it does not appear in the texts. Moses' ascension to heaven. If it is true that Moses was taken to God in his lifetime and did not die, thus, it is possible to explain why Moses' burial place is not only unknown but also it does not exist at all. How is the mysterious figure appear in Deuteronomy 34 verse 6? He buried him in Moab, in the valley opposite Beth Peor, but to this day no one knows where his grave is. The word, he, contains a mysterious figure that buries Moses. Is he God? This answer can be found in the words of classical and modern commentators, and now we understand why only God himself could take care of Moses at the end of his life. But why is the wonderful story of the great leader of Israel omitted from the Bible? We can also use the intuition of classical Jewish sources in this matter. According to early commentators, the Bible was fearful of Moses' deity and worship of his grave because he was the greatest of the prophets and the greatest leader of the Israelites. Therefore, his burial place is unknown. It is said that he ascended to heaven. This set a precedent for Elijah the prophet. We hope you learned something new today. If you did, give this video a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. See you next time.